In this video, I'm going to do something really contentious, and I'm sure I'm going to get hate from both sides, but I'm going to compare Fractal to Helix. I'm going to attempt to do what I've not really seen anybody do and compare the actual tech. I'm going to look at the units themselves, the strengths and the weaknesses. There's 1,000,001 videos where you can listen to the sounds they make, but this one, I'm going to concentrate on the tech. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little tally of all the things that I think are relevant and important in looking at these units, and we're going to keep score. Some things will be a draw, some things will be an out-and-out win, but let's have a look. Let's see how the fanboys react. On this side, we have Helix, and on this side, we have Fractal. Let's start off with when they were released, okay? The Helix was released in 2015. It's 2023 now, so that makes it quite old by comparison. The Axe-Fx III was released in March 2018. Now, perspective-wise, Fractal released their Axe II in March of 2014. So, the Axe II is a year younger than the Helix, and the Axe II is now discontinued. So the Fractal is a much newer unit. That means we have one win for the Fractal. Let's look at the ins and outs. In the line 6, you've got a guitar in, you've got one XLR in, you've got two stereo effects loops. Now each stereo effects loop has got 2 ins and 2 outs, left and right, obviously. You don't have to use them in stereo, you can use them in mono. There is a stereo XLR out and 2 jack plugs, left and right out. It's got a headphone out as well. The Fractal's got a guitar in on the back and another one on the front. It's the same input, so I'm counting them as one. Input 2 is a pair of XLR combo jacks. Input 3, a pair of jacks. Input 4, a pair of jacks. Now, Fractal do the effects loops slightly differently in that they just give you ins and outs and you use them for whatever you want to use them for. Input 4, pair of jacks. Output wise, the Fractal just doubles up on the same thing, and each output has 2 XLRs, left and right, and 2 jacks, or left and right. And then that's doubled for output 2, so 4 XLR outs, 4 jack outs, and then you've got the outputs which are effectively your effect sends. Outputs and inputs, Fractal. Amp models, this is easy. Line 6 has 60 amp models, and the Axe-Fx has 270. That's not strictly hardware, but it's important. Cabinet models, line 6, 100 cabs with various mic options. Fractal, 2,200 cabs with mic options. That'll be Fractal then. Effects, well, numbers of effects were pretty similar, around about the 250 mark for both, so we'll call that a tie. Now, firmware updates. This one's a biggie because it really says a lot about the relationship with the customer and how much effort a company is putting into their product. So let's have a look at the numbers. Helix, since it was released in, what did we say it was? 2015, has had 3 major updates and then some minor updates on the way. So at the minute, we are on 3.6. The Fractal, bearing in mind the Fractal was released in March 2018, is on 21.4. So 21 major updates and then 4 minor ones since then as well. And each of those 21 updates has between 3 and 8 on average, looking at the listings, minor updates inside it. So there's a lot more updates going on with the Fractal. Let's give that one to Fractal. Memory capacity. This is easy. Helix has got 1 gig, Fractal's got 4. Fractal wins. Processing power. This to me is the big difference. The Helix has 2 Shark processors. Now, Shark processors in their time were great processors. The first version of the Axe-Fx had 1 Shark processor in it. Helix came along and they put 2 into their unit. Then along came Axe II, which also had 2 Shark processors in, but slightly better ones. However, Axe III completely blew that out of the water. They're not using the Shark processor anymore. They're using something called a Keystone processor. They have 2 of them. They've got 2 other processors to handle everything else. So one for the ins and outs, one for the graphics, but two very, very, very powerful processors for just the audio processing. Have a look at this little graph. This is mind-blowing. This is where the Axe 2 was with processing power. And then the Axe 3 came along and whoa! So as far as raw processing power is concerned, it's just no competition. It's Fractal. 8-axe, digital converters, but they're both the same. So we'll call that a draw and leave it alone. Price. Ooh, you get a lot for your money with a Fractal, but you pay an awful lot less for the Helix. Okay? So I'm going to give that one a Helix. And if you just want to use things like effects and you're using something else for your amp sound, so if you do the 4-cable method and you're using a real amp, the Helix will be absolutely superb. The extra processing power, I believe, in the Fractal is going towards all of the amp models and things like that, because they are very, very hungry and they are superb, but they eat a lot of power. Okay, so there is our little tally, and it would seem that, if my cables got out of the way, Fractal has just taken it. You know, draw your own conclusions and tell me what you think, but as far as the hardware is concerned and the unit itself, Fractal are light years ahead. As far as sounds, playability, and all those kind of things, and price, well, you know, that's contentious. My personal view owning both is that the effects on both are really, really nice, really good. The difference is the amp models, and the amp models on the Fractal, oh, there's a lot more of them, but they are more detailed. They behave better when you go to extremes of gain. There's a lot to be said for the Fractal amp models. The other thing I want to talk about is the number of high-profile users. How many megastars, you know, rock gods, etc., are wandering around with a Helix compared to a Fractal unit? You can rattle off a who's who when you talk about who's using the Fractal, but compare that to the Helix, and it's like, well, you know, you're struggling for slightly less prominent people. Tell me what you think. I'm sure you've got great experiences with both units. I certainly have. I've got a Fractal, I've got a Helix, and I've used them both, and I've enjoyed them both, and I've got great things from both of them. But you tell me what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.